obviously though there's the whole SAM stuff that went down last year, and DeFi kind of died for a while. A lot of teams, like, they hadn't felt Sam's presence for a while, and I think we all kind of felt slighted, like, hey, this is our ecosystem, it's not Sam's ecosystem. And just these last 6 months, the amount of stuff shipping and the amount of interest in LSTs and Solana DeFi has just exploded. Like, my job is like so much more fun now and easier. Like earlier this year, it was like pretty brutal. You're just trying to figure out how to like evangelize liquid staking when you really couldn't even borrow lend for a few months with liquid staking tokens. And it's kind of nice to see more and more people kind of realizing what's been being built here.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Edge Podcast. I'm DeFi Dad here with Nomadic from 4RC. Today's show features Marinade Finance, the top staking protocol on Solana with nearly 10 million SOL staked, equal to over $600 million across 75,000 unique wallets. Live for over 2 years, Marinade is the most popular dApp on Solana thanks to countless DeFi integrations to support its flagship liquid staking derivative, mSOL. In this episode, we'll discuss how Marinade grew to become such a trusted protocol in Solana, including the recent launch of their native staking service, which allows users to stake SOL directly without losing custody across 100+ network validators in one click. But before we do, just a quick word from our sponsors who make the Edge Podcast possible. For most of us, our crypto journey started with MetaMask. And now with MetaMask Portfolio, we can do so much more. MetaMask Portfolio puts you in control. Use the dashboard to see all your assets and balances across your wallets in one place. The buy feature allows us to buy crypto assets effortlessly with fiat options such as PayPal or credit card. The swap feature allows us to swap any tokens anytime by finding a selection of available rates. The bridge feature allows us to bridge between networks including Ethereum, L1s, and L2s based on the best price and fastest delivery time. And with the stake feature, anyone in a few clicks can stake ETH and earn rewards. Do more in Web3 your way with a safe, simple, and convenient tool that's all in one place. Track and manage your Web3 everything at metamask.io/portfolio. Whether you're a trader, farmer, analyst, or newbie, you can trade smart with KYBERSWAP, the OG decentralized exchange and aggregator on 13 chains. Swap at the best rates, farm with real yields, set limit orders, use their proprietary trading and AI tools with the best UX in DeFi, securely and permissionlessly. Get better rates, better opportunities, better alpha, and a better trading experience. Trade smart now at KYBERSWAP.com. Mike, before we get back to the show, can you explain what is liquid restaking?
Everybody at this point is familiar with liquid staking. It lets you take your staked ETH, mint a liquid staking token, and then use that token in DeFi. Well, the hottest thing in staking right now is restaking. It's the ability to reuse your staked ETH to provide Ethereum's trust layer to other services that want to benefit from it. Services like data availability layers, Oracle networks, other blockchains, and beyond. The benefit of restaking is that you get to earn additional staking rewards on top of your normal staking rewards. Well, currently, if you want to restake your ETH, your only option is to lock up your ETH. The reason that's a problem is because you can't use your restaked ETH in DeFi. We're launching ETH, the ETHER.FI liquid restaking token, because with liquid restaking, users get the benefit of staking rewards, restaking rewards, and they get to collect loyalty points for ETHER.FI and EigenLayer through this token. So it's the easiest way to get exposure to two up-and-coming early protocols, and on top of that, get all the benefits of staking and restaking.
To learn more about ETH liquid staking and liquid restaking, go to ETHER.FI.
It all started so simply with CryptoKitties and Maker on Ethereum, but quickly became complex with more applications and many chains. Today, everyone agrees UX issues are the biggest blocker standing in the way of crypto adoption. Introducing AVOCADO. Multi-chain UX redesigned from the ground up. The first wallet to abstract networks, accounts, and gas. One gas tank to pay transaction fees on all chains in USDC. And native access to INSTADAPP's powerful, custom DeFi strategies. AVOCADO, one wallet to rule all chains.
All right, let's introduce Brandon Tucker from the core team at Marinade Finance. Brandon, welcome to the Edge podcast. How are you doing?
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Big supporter for a couple years. I think you were one of the first accounts I was following, and as a fellow dad, I think it gave me some confidence that like it's not just all degenerates in DeFi, and you can be a responsible dad and be in this business. So thanks for the info.
No, thanks so much, Brandon. That's so nice of you to say. So today we're going to try to cover really all you need to know about Marinade Finance as the top staking protocol on Solana. We're going to talk a lot about why you now refer to it as optimized staking. I think many of us who have used mSOL in the past have, referred to you as liquid staking. And so that's the really interesting development that we want to highlight. But I do want to backtrack to the starting or the founding of Marinade. I heard a rumor that, you were founded with something like $80,000. I'm curious, is that true? Can you talk about I always assumed you had VCs backing you. Marinade was founded in the last bull run. So I assumed you had, maybe even some of the legacy issues that some protocols had with SBF and FTX, but apparently that's not true. So yeah, can you walk us through the founding of Marinade?
Happy to. Yeah, the team was founded back in the spring of 2021. I joined in the fall of 2020. I joined at the exact market top. So if you see Solana at 260, that's exactly when I started.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the team, it was basically two teams that got together at a hackathon. They were working in multiple ecosystems and saw the Solana hackathon. Both began working on liquid staking and just teamed up, got together and shipped the hackathon project together. And they were able to just get an $80,000 from the Solana Serum hackathon. And Marinade was actually able to be the first liquid staking token live on mainnet on Solana. This is August of 2021. So they actually beat Lido by about a month to mainnet. So that was huge. It really gave Marinade this head start. And it's really just been a community ethos from the beginning. No VC, a total fair launch token, MNDE that launched that October with the idea of just being a fully on-chain DAO that we've been executing like crazy over the last year or two. So it really is just a community project. There's a lot of ways to contribute, and we're always eager to really get the whole community of Solana involved, whether it's DeFi protocols, validators, thought leaders. We really kind of envision it as a public good, kind of here for the ecosystem, contributing public tooling, all open source stuff for the ecosystem for years to come.
How did you decide to start working on Solana? I guess were you holding SOL and thinking about the opportunity there with liquid staking? Because I would imagine it was probably a popular decision in 2021, and then I'm betting you endured a lot during the crypto winter, like everyone, and now in the end of 2023 again, I feel like you're looking like a genius again to a lot of folks, like an overnight success, which I think clearly again you all have worked very hard to get to this point.
Yeah, I think the team's just really at the beginning, the technological value proposition of Solana. This idea of composability on Solana is really good for liquid staking, and just kind of speaking as a retail normie from the beginning. It's hard to do a lot with Ethereum, staked Ethereum on mainnet without kind of running into a lot of fees. But on Solana, everything is just so composable and the fees are so low that you can really kind of maximize just the stackability and the composability of a liquid staking token. So you can use all these really cool strategies. And one of the great things about mSOL is that, we've got the liquid staking token and we really don't do a whole lot after that for the composability and just the whole ecosystem usage. DeFi teams just take it and run with it. They build all these really cool use cases with it. And we're just kind of this kind of cornerstone or this backbone of liquidity in the ecosystem. And what's really exciting to me is, obviously there's the whole SAM stuff that went down last year and DeFi kind of died for a while. And just these last 6 months, the amount of stuff shipping and the amount of interest in LSTs and Solana DeFi has just exploded. like my job is like so much more fun now and easier. Like earlier this year, it was like pretty brutal. You're just trying to figure out how to like evangelize liquid staking when you really couldn't even borrow lend for a few months with liquid staking tokens. So yeah, we've been building like crazy. Happy to share about that, but really just the ecosystem in general. It was really a call to arms. I think about where we were in November of last year. Most of us were at breakpoint in Portugal as all the stuff was going down, and it didn't feel fair because I think a lot of the teams didn't feel like Sam was part of like our team. I think you could probably find some like DMs with us and Alameda from like way back in the day. Like they were kind of just tangentially involved to a degree, but like a lot of teams, like they hadn't felt Sam's presence for a while. And I think we all kind of felt slighted, like, hey, this is our ecosystem. It's not Sam's ecosystem. And I think in the last year, you've really seen that come to life. And it's kind of nice to see more and more people kind of realizing what's been being built here.
It's crazy to think how much changed too in a year. We're talking in December 2023, and December 2022 was a really, really dark time for everyone. So it's a reminder that like things can change very quickly. This is, part of the reason as much as I know it's impossible not to like pay attention to prices and, to keep your eye on the market. Of course, it's very important to the growth of our space. It is important to, keep your head down and keep building. And now that we're, very likely, I think, in a bull run, it's important to not give ourselves too much credit during the bull run. Like during the bear market, we all want to say like, the prices don't matter. Like the tech is still building, the fundamentals are strong. But during the bull run, I do feel like even the most like well-intentioned people sometimes get caught up in that and like forget to pat themselves or forget to stop patting themselves on the back.
I think just speaking from like a SOL price perspective, I think the benefit of SOL not being $8 anymore is that it does help the network decentralization and incentivize a validator network across the world. And they can operate in many countries now and still, be sustainable, utilize a variety of servers. And that's really what Marinade has really been focused on. We actually had a workshop at this last breakpoint when SOL was like $30, trying to like understand how sustainable the validator network was. And again, at those prices, it was like maybe 100 or 200 validators were operating sustainably by our estimates. But now that's doubled, the network is healthier, assuming that, SOL price is able to stabilize and like network and hardware costs don't go up like crazy. So that is the benefit if we don't want to talk about like moon boy stuff too much. But like Marinade's profitable now. We weren't profitable for like over a year. Just being a bootstrap company, we were like really lean and mean this last year. But all this stuff, the combination of SOL, going up in price, but also just the amount of stake coming to us now, it's really benefiting the ecosystem at large.
Brandon, can you just give us kind of like the elevator pitch overview of what Marinade does and kind of the various products that you offer?
Sure, yeah. Probably should have done that like 5 minutes ago, but it's fine. So Marinade, so if you're on Solana, if you're holding SOL, you should stake it because of the blockchain emissions. So it is a proof of stake network that is emitting more tokens at right now about 6% a year. So like you want to stake it to kind of keep your stack intact compared to the market cap, but you're also supporting network decentralization through staking. And what Marinade is doing is it's optimizing your stake. So instead of just staking with one validator and kind of being reliant on their performance, we're taking that stake and we're distributing it to 100 plus validators who we know to be the best across the network. We're using a scoring strategy that factors in both decentralization and just their APY performance. So we're actually supporting the network as well as strong validators. So it's kind of like a way you can like set and forget your stake and not have to worry about a validator going offline, which we've had many examples of validators going offline or changing their commissions or doing things that are like not great for your APY or your network. So we're really kind of like your manager for staking Solana in a wise way. And we'll do it liquid or native, which I know that you guys are big fans of the native product.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that those that listen to this podcast in the future, I'm going to assume that they might have some familiarity with DeFi on Ethereum or the Ethereum L2s. And so when you're coming to Solana DeFi, mSOL is it's easy to pick up because, if you've ever used something like staked ETH or like Steth or any of the other LSTs, let's say rocket pools, it's the same idea. Like I want to hold something that is still liquid, but is passively earning me the staking rewards from the network, whether it's collateral or we want to provide liquidity. There's lots of different use cases there. And so we're benefiting from that with mSOL through Marinade. But I think it was in July, you all released this native staking product, which I can personally attest. It's my favorite DeFi product because it's allowing me to earn maximum yield on SOL without any smart contract interaction. So can you walk us through, like, what's the point of native staking? What is it as a product? Like, how does it differentiate from the liquid staking product?
Yeah, it's really one of these kind of only possible on Solana things. And really the native was born kind of out of this kind of dark ages of Solana DeFi back in December, January, when there really wasn't like a whole lot to do in DeFi. And, we're talking to a lot of, larger investors, institutions, asking them about mSOL and liquid staking, because we've always felt like the main value proposition of Marinade was the delegation strategy as much as being liquid. And so you talk to a lot of these institutions and larger holders, and they don't want to have any exposure to Solana DeFi right now. And I think if you would have talked to them a year ago, you'd say, yeah, I get it. And then, so yeah, they don't want the smart contract exposure either. And so what Marinade was able to do is we took the delegation strategy, and it's what it is it's the stake bot that we kind of programmed the stake bot that kind of analyzes the validator network of Solana and delegates stake through the stake bot. And we don't need to use the liquid staking smart contract for that. And so what we're able to do is you give us the stake authority of your stake account, and this stake bot churns out like 100+ stake accounts for you, like automatically. And if you did this on Ethereum, the transaction fees would be insane. We did like some analysis, like in the first couple months of Marinade Native. I think the transaction costs for like hundreds of thousands of transactions were like $20 or something. So like from a protocol perspective, this is something that we're able to do on Solana that we probably wouldn't be able to do on a lot of other chains. So yeah, like you retain the withdraw authority the whole time. It's really like you're just one click getting 100+ stake accounts. And every epoch we're looking at the delegation, and if there's any validators who are suffering or not doing well, we're rotating the kind of laggards, and we're kind of rotating it into better stake accounts. So you're kind of always seeing that yield, and you don't have to worry about like a big validator going offline, because something I will point out is, like, especially when the FTX stuff happened and the economics had just totally blown up, you had validators changing their commission to 100%, not telling anybody, and trying to get away with it for like, months or until you noticed. So like if you're staking to one validator, that's kind of the worst case scenario, or they go offline and don't tell you, where you think you're staking and earning yield, but you're not at all. And so that's kind of the main benefit of Marinade, is that we're always going to be watching for you, so you don't have to like babysit your validator.
For the native staking product, if you're going to withdraw, does the withdrawal require any like waiting period? Were you just saying, can you do it almost instantly, or do you have to wait for it to be unstaked?
You can unstake individual stake accounts instantly, and it is possible to do that with Marinade Native, but you can kind of go to other sites and like withdraw like one stake account at a time. So like if you wanted to get out of your native stake account right now, it would take a lot of clicks to do it, but you could like unstake instantly from like one or two validators. For those who don't really know about Solana, there is like a pretty large liquidity pool for instant unstakes. So that's actually one of the detriments as to like why liquid staking is only about 3% of stake, is that a stake account is actually really liquid already. It's not like other chains where it might be like a 2-week unbonding period or like a month unbonding period. It's just 2 to 3 days on Solana. So it's already like a really liquid network. So it's quite easy to get out of your native.
Are you aware of any like impact that native staking has had in terms of like how much SOL was staked prior to you launching versus how much SOL is now staked on Solana? I was kind of like tracking the stats there on the website, and I imagined it would have some material impact because again, it's such an important product, you know, for folks who want to stake larger amounts of SOL but aren't willing to risk, you know, using something like a liquid staking derivative.
Yeah, Solana's always been like a pretty well staked network. Usually around like 70-75% of all SOL is staked. A lot of that is actually like locked stake too from like early VC or grants. So like they're on like a vest period. I know we're always like watching the FTX estate like a hawk to see when those unlocks happen, but there's like 55 million SOL or so that's like locked in stake accounts too. There's been like a steady growth, I would say. I wouldn't say it's been like earth shattering. There's a lot of people who have their stake accounts parked and are kind of hesitant to do anything with it for various reasons. There are some reasons why larger holders wouldn't use a product like Marinade Native. For example, some want to make sure that they're like with KYC validators, or they have like really good relationships or they have their own validator. So those are people who have kind of kept it the same. Solana has always been a pretty nicely staked network though. But I would say the growth is like steadily growing, especially with Liquid. I think we've seen some nice growth as DeFi comes back because there's just a lot more to do with it now.
I want to just bring up Jito for a minute here. They've made a lot of waves just recently with their what looks to be a massive airdrop to the community. We were talking just a little bit before we got started here, and I was actually kind of surprised that there's almost more of like a positive sum relationship between Marinade and Jito. Just wondering if you can kind of break that down for us again, Brandon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Jito's an awesome team. They have like absolutely like earned everything on Solana. They are just absolute like engineering chads and like just beyond happy for what they've contributed to Solana. And so I think it's important to understand like Marinade and Jito both have stake pools, and then like beyond that we also kind of do different things. And so Jito really their kind of claim to fame early on was this new validator client, which was a fork of the Solana validator client. And what a client was able to do was introduce this idea of MEV rewards to Solana that people got really excited about. And so you can actually earn like MEV yield through those validators in addition to staking rewards. And Marinade and Jito, so like Jito's stake pool for now is staking to like all Jito client validators as a way of like kind of bootstrapping the validators to use that client. Marinade, we will stake to anybody. So we'll stake to the Solana Labs validators. We'll stake to the Jito validators. When Firedancer comes out, we'll stake to Firedancer. We're really just looking for like performant decentralized validators. And so being the largest stake pool for so long, like our stake is benefiting the Jito client because we're sending like, I think we're maybe half of our stake ish is going to Jito client validators. That's like 5-ish million SOL going to Jito validators and supporting them. And then their performance is so good that it's benefiting our stakers because we can give our stakers MEV and strong performance for Jito. So it's like, I think it's kind of a symbiotic thing. We're really kind of building together. And I think it's awesome that they're like Solana specific. They're like focused totally on Solana. I know that you've got kind of an ETH audience here, and like Lido left last month. And it makes sense. Like they are so big on Ethereum.
Actually, I'm not sure if it makes sense. I will say, Brandon, when they made that announcement, you know, I didn't flinch at it because, you know, I think as someone who has spent more of my time and attention on Ethereum and L2s, I thought, yeah, like they've got an enormous audience of loyal users there. Man, the timing of that decision does feel somewhat epic now, right? Like it feels like they announced and left, and then Solana just like exploded with this like newfound interest. So, you know, I'm not like claiming to have any part of that like victory. I think like I have pivoted pretty quickly to recognize like the momentum shift is remarkable, and all of the folks like yourself that were building through the bear market, like this is the reward of that. And Solana looks very strong and healthy now. But yeah, I feel like it took everyone by surprise seeing that. Like, wow, like they checked out and everything exploded. And I do believe if they had waited just like one more month, I bet that ST-SOL would have continued as a product. But, not that you have to be at odds with them as Marinade Finance. And I don't think you guys ever were at odds. But it opened up I think a pretty large opportunity for anyone who was holding ST-SOL to consider, what else should I be using? And the most obvious, I think, alternative, if you were an ST-SOL, was to get into Marinade.
Yeah, I think I'll just add that I think the teams that kind of doubled down on Solana kind of at the depths, they're pretty much all like bearing the fruits now. And like, Marinade's been like all in on Solana. Jito's been all in on Solana. There's countless other protocols that have been all in on Solana throughout this whole thing. And those that kind of stuck around are doing well. Like we respect Lido like crazy. And I know that our founding team like is huge Lido fans. And like sometimes people ask if like Marinade is the Lido of Solana. And it's like, I don't consider that at all, because I think we manage like 2 to 3% of total stake, which is like nothing. So, but like this is crazy. Timing's crazy. It's serendipity. But I think those who work on Solana every single day and their focus is on Solana, the value prop never really changed, even when like liquidity was dry. A lot of the cool things that happened just before breakpoint with regards to just like chain performance and like priority transactions and things like that for like the builders and the developers, like they were just jacked up about that. So like, why would they leave right after those updates?
Brandon, you mentioned MEV earlier and kind of that like symbiotic relationship between Jito and Marinade for how you captured on the Marinade side. DeFi Dad and I should never pretend to be MEV experts, but I am curious, like I think I'm pretty blind to kind of the MEV markets on Solana. Like how meaningful is it right now? How much is that growing? And I guess how much fee revenue do you see passing through MEV?
Yeah, right now it's not significant. Like there's no like Jared from Subway equivalent on Solana, like sandwiching our stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think like the stake pool, like our entire stake pool, each epoch is maybe getting like 5 to 10 SOL-ish like of MEV. But the idea is that there's a lot more opportunity as the chain gets more demand and more action, and validators are able to kind of benefit more from the ordering of transactions. So I think it's more of a future benefit. I think for Marinade, it makes a much bigger difference on just the overall validator performance versus MEV. But I think we're also excited about MEV. We're hugely excited about Firedancer and what that offers too. That's another big thing, that is just another validator client with like even more insane speeds and opportunities. So I think with Marinade, I wouldn't say like MEV is like this massive driver, but it is exciting. It's another thing that Solana offers a lot of potential of.
Can you talk a little bit more about Firedancer and what impact, if any, that'll have on Marinade? You just mentioned a validator client with insane speeds. So yeah, anything else you can offer there to dumb it down for someone who's heard the word Firedancer but has no idea like how it relates to Solana?
Yeah, and apologies in advance to Kevin Bowers if I like totally screw this up as a liberal arts guy, but really like the idea behind Solana having multiple clients is that it really helps the this idea like downtime that Solana used to have. But if we can have like, parallel clients running, just like Ethereum does, Ethereum's got like 5 or 6, right? So this idea of like different clients running in different programming languages kind of eliminates really the idea of like a chain halt, which Solana hasn't had a chain halt like really all year. I think it's been 10 or 11 months at this point. But multiple clients running means that like the network can stay live. And also like they're building it in a way where they're like saying that they could do like 1 million transactions a second or something insane. The way that they're building, this is the Jump team that's building it. So, they have motivations for like this like insane trading, light speed stuff. from a trading perspective, but it also just opens up a lot of consumer use cases for having both the speed and the liveness that Firedancer introduced. And I think it's in testnet now, and I believe like a light version they're calling Firedancer is potentially going to go live by Q2. And Tolly said like once Firedancer is live, we can take away the beta. He feels good about no more mainnet beta for Solana, so we're all excited for Tolly.
So Brandon, the Marinade token is already live, and we sort of saw how Jito really utilized their token not being live with their point system for their airdrop to, I think, accrue just a ton of TVL. What is your plan in this kind of competitive marketplace to continue to draw in TVL, even with a token that's already live? Like any tricks up your sleeve or?
Sure. Yeah. We did the fair launch airdrop 2 years ago. So, you can only have so many bullets for an airdrop to get all that hype. So, we were doing a small campaign too called Marinade Earn this year that it runs up at the end of December, where you're able to kind of earn some MNDE on top of your staking awards. And really the idea there was to kind of make sure that like the combined APY of the MNDE plus staking awards like earns you a better yield than like any single validator. So it kind of really introduces you to the Marinade value proposition. So I think that the token utility, I would say, is really interesting, and I don't think enough people know about it who aren't like breathing, staking on Solana. But the MNDE token, we introduced this idea of directed stake with it. And so if you lock your tokens in our Realms governance, you can vote for validators to receive like all the stakes. So it's 20% of the stake pool. So I'd say this is directing about 2 million of our stake pool stake is determined based on MNDE voting. And so if I vote for a validator, they get that proportion of stake to their node. And so for validators, this is like really interesting for them to like attract stake through the MNDE token. And another cool thing to keep an eye on is validators are starting to introduce this idea of like their own like boosted markets for like almost like a Vodium kind of concept. Maybe Curve Wars is a good example, but they'll like give you additional incentives to vote for them with your MNDE, and you can actually get like more staking awards by voting for them, and then the validators get additional stake. So that's like a really interesting utility, and we're starting to see more and more validators start to like offer their own incentives, and I think this is going to really proliferate into 2024. Just this idea of being able to kind of vote with your token, and it's really kind of maintaining that community ethos I spoke about earlier of Marinade really trying to be this community fair launch protocol, and the community is always going to be able to vote on a portion of the Marinade stake.
Are there any links or resources you'd recommend, Brandon, for keeping up with, all these updates and being able to participate in that, like staking and on-chain governance in the future?
Yeah, obviously the Twitter, Discord, we've got great docs that we're working on all the time. So, definitely dig into the docs a little bit and kind of see what's going on there. The validator community too, there's a handful of like really awesome validators who are outstanding at education. I'm thinking of like Nox Trade, Solana Hub, Solana Compass, Lane, Cogent. The list goes on of like awesome validators who I think speak in a language good enough like for retail to understand, and they've been really proactive at not only marketing the ecosystem but themselves and staking, and they really benefit from Marinade stake too, and so they're always like huge supporters of stake.
I've written up a few reviews previously about Marinade in the Defiant and the DeFi Alpha Guide, and I remember like every time I've done this, I've considered, will you expand to other liquid staking products like beyond SOL? So do you foresee that in the roadmap? And also maybe even more obvious would be offering mSOL on other chains that are, Solana friendly, or, are going to have like a crossover audience with mSOL holders on Solana.
Yeah, good question. I think if we didn't really go multi-chain during the FTX downturn, we're probably not going to anytime soon. I do think though that like the mSOL like token is like very composable and can be utilized by other teams. And so I think that's more likely, and is that like another team like a Neon or someone using, you know, SVM or really protocols who are like building multi-chain, they would like just permissionlessly utilize our token. Like we don't really have to be involved whatsoever for that. And like we recently went through a smart contract upgrade that makes mSOL just even like more composable to work with like a better programming language. So I don't anticipate like the Marinade core team like proactively trying to like get across as many chains as we can, but I do see other chains seeing the benefit of having LSTs from Solana on their platform and integrating us pretty seamlessly.
Brandon, this is probably a good place for us to start to wrap up. So I want to remind our listeners that first, they can learn about Marinade Finance by going to marinade.finance. They can follow you on Twitter. It's Brandon Tucker. And then they can follow Marinade Finance at Marinade Finance. And so we'd love to give you the final word. Just, you know, thank you for taking the time to, you know, talk with us. Obviously, as a user of all Marinade products, like this is a real joy for me to kind of dig into what happens behind the scenes, where the product roadmap is headed. But for those who would want to get more involved, like, do you have any recommendations of like where to start or like where to plug into the Marinade community?
Sure. Yeah, I think the Discord's great. We have a lot of discussion going on in there. We also run like an mSOL strategies channel too. So like if you've got mSOL and you don't know how to use it in DeFi, you know, visit the mSOL strategies channel. We're also updating the cookbook. That's like a DeFi cookbook where you can kind of see all the various strategies where you can use mSOL. Like we've got leverage staking now where you can like one click like lever up your mSOL stake to like 4x if you want. That's kind of degenerate, but relatively safe, I'd say. Liquidity pools, like all that stuff. So like there's a whole lot to do with your mSOL. Now, if you don't want to use your liquid stake, then just go to native like you are, because like that's even better APY performance and no smart contract. But it's an awesome community. I've been really kind of grateful to be a part of this community. I think I kind of found the perfect community for me in crypto. It's like very welcoming and global, and it's just kind of great to see all the activity picking up and seeing folks like you reach out and want to talk about us more. So I'm very, it's going to be a good holiday season, I think, all around. I think if you like see people like, you know, splurging like crazy at a restaurant or the mall, they might be I don't know, some Solana, some like bonk maxi. It's like you'll spot the bonk maxis a mile away this holiday season. You'd be around them at the bar.
One other thing before you go, you mentioned the 4x one-click leverage. Are you referring to Camino Finance, or is there something else out there?
So there's 4 now. So at the beginning of the year, there were 0, and you always had to do it manually. But then Superstake Sol, that was built by Drip, they launched it. Then Solend launched their own. And then you had Camino, where they just launched the V2, and they've got it. And then Mango just launched it too. So that just kind of speaks to like how composable things are and how everyone's like jacked up to integrate us. And just liquid staking tokens in general, because DeFi can, like I mentioned, like 70% of stake, you know, and most of that's native. Like if that gets unlocked in a liquid, I mean, it's going to be crazy times.
Well, it's well earned. It's not like this was an overnight success. And I think the most interesting takeaway for me today is just that you never raised like a typical sort of like seed round with VCs. Like that's a really interesting part of the story there. And I would imagine anyone who's looking at Marinade, looking at when you were founded, had to have assumed the total opposite, that you must have had some enormous round, you know, going back to 2021. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I think it's really telling about the roots of like where you come from and the sort of like missionary driven ethos, I think, behind you and clearly others on the protocol.
Yeah, it's made us scrappy. It's made us really kind of focus on what matters. And you know, it's a great team to be on. We're all very humble and love kind of collaborating with people in the ecosystem. And I'll also mention, like, I'm 1/3 of the grant committee And like, you really can't get MNDE unless you contribute. Like, even the core team, like, we don't get time-based unlocks. Like, it's all TVL-based milestone unlocks. And like, we've got a grant committee that's like designed to like bring us an idea that you want to build, and like, we'll unlock the MNDE for you to make it happen. Like, we really want to see the community over the next couple of years, like, take over Marinade, like, make it decentralized to the point where it's like the community is in general, and there's really not a core team. That's kind of the long-term roadmap. So it's exciting. I think if you're on Solana, you want to be part of a community, it's a great place to be. So thanks again for your interest. It's awesome to see that so many people are kind of taking notice now.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you're a talented founder or developer, please consider reaching out to our team at fourthrevolution.capital. And for future episodes of the Edge podcast, please check out our link tree at edge_pod.